Great. First shot of the day.
Time to throw it. Hey everybody, it's birdie time. I wanted to do a quick review of the Discmania Prototype P4 so you could get an idea of how it flies. Shout out to Nolan from Chain Reactions for helping me get my hands on this P4. So from what I understand, this Prototype P4 is basically the Discmania Evolution line tactic. And they took the tactic and they kind of moved it over into their Discmania Originals line. And now it comes in the Color Glow C-Line plastic, which is really nice. I did find out that the P4 rim is 1/10 of a centimeter thicker than the rim of the Tactic, so it's a totally different disc. Unfortunately, I don't have a Tactic, so I can't compare the P4 to the Tactic directly. If you've ever thrown a Tactic though, you probably are pretty familiar with how the P4 is going to fly for you. Just like the Tactic, the Prototype P4 is an overstable putt-and-approach disc, and the flight numbers are 4203. To help judge how the P4 might fly for you, it'll probably help you to know that I'm rated 964 currently, and my max distance is about 400 feet. I hope that gives you context for how the P4 might fly if you were throwing it. Okay, let's take a look at how the Prototype P4 flies. I took the P4 onto a short course that has a couple of tricky lines to see how it flew on the fairway. When throwing the P4 with hyzer, it was clear pretty immediately that the P4 was not going to flip up to flat. Although it doesn't fade incredibly quickly, it clearly just wants to go to the ground when thrown on hyzer. I also got a nice skip shot with it several times, demonstrating the overstability, the strong fade, and that the rim shape is shaped so that you can get a skip after it hits the ground. With more of a flat throw, the P4 does stay flat for a little bit, but not too much of the flight. Pretty quickly, it's going to start to fade. It's not wildly overstable, but it's not going to stay flat for long. I found that within 100 or so feet, it was already beginning to fade. For most of my flat and controlled shots, I was putting the P4 around 200 to 220 feet. I think the P4 excels on a flex line if you're good with anhyzer. I'm not the best with anhyzer throws, but when I managed to give some good ante to the P4, it would flex out of it slowly, fighting back to flat and getting a little bit of fade to it before hitting the ground. It doesn't absolutely dump to the left. You can get some good flight out of the P4. I found that throwing a high-powered shot with a touch of anhyzer did a pretty good job of demonstrating that the P4 is capable of decent distance. If you excel at anhyzer lines, then the P4 will probably really shine for you as a flex shot specialty disc. I also threw a few forehands with it, and if you're familiar with my channel at all, you know that forehands are certainly not my ideal. But the P4 handles the torque well. When thrown on hyzer, it just holds the forehand hyzer the whole way, and even when I threw with some wobble, it had some consistent fade to it that made sure it got back to the right by the end of the flight. I also introduced the P4 to a couple of trees because my accuracy goes down with a forehand. When thrown with a lot of power, I think the P4 handles the torque extremely well. It'll have a late fade kick in, but you can still get some surprising distance from the P4 despite the low speed and glide. The Color Glow plastic is also really cool. It has a great glow and makes an excellent addition to a glow bag. It'll glow for quite a while too, so if you shank it into the woods, you should still be able to find it a few minutes later. The diameter of the P4 is 21.4 centimeters across, the height is 1.8 centimeters, the rim depth is 1.4 centimeters, and the rim width is 1.2 centimeters. Other than the Tactic, the Innova Rat and the DGA Shockwave are the only two discs that share the exact same flight numbers as the P4. If you have thrown one of those discs, then that might indicate how the P4 will fly. Speaking of flight numbers though, with my experience throwing the P4, the flight numbers seemed pretty close, but in my mind, I think I would make a slight adjustment. I think I would give the glide a 3 instead of a 2. The P4 doesn't fly incredibly far, but it did seem to carry a little bit more than I was expecting for a 2 glide. I think the flight numbers 4303 better reflect the distance potential of the P4, despite having a somewhat low speed. I think a little bit more glide better explains the distance capability. I don't think it's faster than a 4-speed. At the same time, I don't think that my zone has more glide than the P4 has. So I would give the P4 3 glide. As far as my bag is concerned, I like the P4 quite a bit. If I'm playing a glow round, it's going to immediately replace my zone so that I have a disc that's going to glow in the dark. But I think for most of my rounds, that zone is just going to stay in the bag. The P4 is great, but I don't think that it knocks out the zone and takes its place. I think the P4 is a great choice for a lot of disc golfers. I don't think that it takes a ton of power or a ton of skill to get the most out of the P4. The flight path you want that the P4 provides is a bit of a straight flight with a hefty fade. It's not crazy overstable, but it's going to consistently fade. It's going to fight the wind, and it's going to be a reliable disc, which is always what you want. You want to know that the disc you throw is going to do what you think it's going to do. And of course, the more talent and power you have, the more situations the P4 can really be useful for you. I really enjoyed testing out the P4. I hope this review is helpful for you. I hope it showed you maybe how the disc might fly for you. I also have a few other disc reviews on my channel. I haven't done a ton yet, but I have a short disc review playlist. So if you're looking for other reviews, I've got a few reviews on there, like the Trail, the Defy, and the Hex. I have that linked in the description, so check that out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Oh.
They're watching too.
No.
Oh no, no! Oh, that's gonna be third putt. P4 putt.
Oh, are you kidding?
Of course, I make the P4.
Oh my gosh.